Hey guys. Is it on? It's on. It's on. Hi guys. They're sitting. All right, guys, we're about to get started, but just one quick announcement. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Can I have your attention, please? Can we lower our voices, please? Thank you.
All right, guys, we're about to get started, but real quick, Linda, Sue, and Salva, at the end of this, you'll get to take a picture as a group, but we're not going to do individual pictures. Okay? That's all. Yes, and you can take pictures while they're sitting up here talking, but no individual pictures at the end. And Lucy will be taking pictures so she can send them to your schools. And no worries.
Check, check. No, check. Good. Everybody can hear me? No. Check, check. Better? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good.
How about camera guy? Do we look okay? Take off about 10 pounds, please. Okay, good. Not off him.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alyssa Hoadley. I'm a co-president of the Holocaust, Genocide, and Human Rights Project here at MCC. I would like to welcome you all to this conversation brought to you by the college and Water for South Sudan. After fleeing from the civil war in Sudan at age 11, MCC alumni Salva led 1,500 Lost Boys to refuge in Kenya. In 2003, he created an organization called Water for South Sudan. This organization was created to drill wells in Sudan in an effort to help provide people with the most basic human right, clean water. After hearing Salva's story, award-winning children's author Linda Sue Park was inspired to write about it. In 2010, the book A Long Walk to Water was published and appeared on the New York Times bestsellers list. The book has sold over 1 million copies and is taught to middle schools all around the country, some of which, from 33 states and Canada, are joining us right now via live stream. Everybody turn and wave. Hi. The Holocaust, Genocide, and Human Rights Project was created in 1990s by the students who were taking classes and wanted to take what they were learning in class and make change happen outside of the classroom. Our mission is to educate others about the Holocaust and other genocides, as well as human rights. Our organization has been a proud sponsor of Water for South Sudan since its founding in 2003. After the moderated conversation with Linda Sue and Salva, we will be reading pre-submitted questions from students all over the country. Please help me welcome Linda Sue and Salva.
Thank you.
So the first question, Salva, you arrived in Rochester, New York from Africa in February. What was your first winter here like?
Well, it was very shocking, especially coming in extreme weather, extreme heat. Temperature of over 100 degrees all the time. To come to below zero was very, 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 very shocking. And I came here in February, and I remember I used to sit at the window of in my apartment to look at these falling things on the sky, like powder and all those kind of things. I couldn't even imagine it. And I didn't even know how to dress up myself well to stay warm enough. I didn't know that. And I remember one time I was walking out and I got a frost on my ears. And sleeping was difficult too, because if you get too cold, your feet and your hand and ear always get painful. And it was not that easy, but I have to cope with it.
Salva, when you were a little boy in Sudan, before the war, had you even heard of snow?
No, I never heard about it completely. I never heard about it, snow. Yeah. Good.
Okay, and the next question is for you, Linda Sue. As the daughter of Korean immigrants, what kind of prejudice did you experience when you were growing up?
Well, my parents immigrated from Korea way back in the 1950s, and I grew up in a small town outside Chicago in Illinois. When we got there, we learned that we were the only Korean family in the whole town. There were no other Koreans anywhere nearby until I was 8 years old, and the second Korean family moved to town. Now, this is not a memory from my childhood because I've done what's called repressed it. I don't actually remember this because it was so painful to me. But my mother says that when we moved, I was in 3rd grade, and for the first about 3 months of school, I came home crying every single day. See, I don't remember this, but she found out that, the only little Asian girl in the whole school, when school let out for the day, and I'd be on my way home, crossing the playground or whatever, the other kids would make a circle around me and say things like, "Chinka, chinka, Chinaman, chinka, chinka, Chinaman." They didn't hurt me, but it must have been terrifying to be a little girl alone with a circle of kids around you, right? Like I said, no memory of it. I have repressed that memory, but she said you came home from school crying every single day. The kind of racism I faced was not the same as what black people face or brown people face, but it was still there, and it was still very painful.
And before we move on, there was something you wanted to talk about.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to have a special shout out to all our live stream schools who are participating because of the Global Read Aloud, which is this awesome program. A lot of communities have a program if all of Rochester, for example, read the same book, so that you have a feeling of community. Well, this wonderful educator named Pernille Rip started a program called the Global Read Aloud, which is kind of like if all the kids all over the world read the same book. So one of the 4 titles chosen for this year's Global Read Aloud is A Long Walk to Water, and we have many schools who are watching this live stream because of the Global Read Aloud, and I just wanted to say a special hello to them, and Salva too. So thank you for participating.
This one is for both of you. What, in your experience, are some of the most important differences between life in the U.S. and life in other countries around the world?
My parents, when they immigrated here to the United States, one of the things that really struck them, and it's an interesting answer, because a lot of times you'd say, oh, freedom, or oh, whatever, you know. But a lot of my Korean relatives who are immigrants talk about convenience. Okay, so in this context, an obvious answer. How do we get water? We turn on the tap, right? That is a very convenient way to get water. It is not how people in South Sudan get water. Many aspects of life in the United States are like that. Supermarkets, roads, electricity, okay, infrastructure. Not for everybody and not everywhere, but in many or most places, life in the United States has this aspect of convenience that we take for granted that doesn't exist in the rest of the world. So this is very striking to a lot of immigrants who come here. And for my father, one of the huge surprises was the library. You think about it, you walk into a library, you get some books, you walk out without paying a cent, and the librarians say, just bring them back when you're done. And my dad was like, what? Why does that even work? People actually bring them back? Well, yes, they do, right? Libraries work. You can't do it with anything else. You can't do it with clothes or toys or anything, right? Only with books at a library. And if you've grown up without one, it's such a weird concept, right? Being able to take these books and read them and learn from them. So he raised us up library kids, and in many parts of the world, people still do not have access to libraries. When you have access to a library, you have access to all the wisdom of the world from all time. It's a pretty awesome thing to be able to access.
Yes, and where I came from, there's a big, huge gap, extremely gap between Sudan and US. Freedom is the key for everything, for each individual to exercise her right or his right. Imagine in this room that we are in today, we have a lot of girls. Maybe the number of girls is even higher than boys. But where I grew up, in my classroom, I didn't even see a girl in there, because the girls were deprived to stay at home and get married, and family get the dowry. And here in US, you have a lot of women who are lawyers, teachers, doctors, and they are participating with anything that we do in this community, and they are contributing to our society life. Why we don't have opportunity to the girls and women to practice their life as well. Those are differences. When I grew up, it was very difficult for me to eat 3 times a day. Over there, if you have breakfast and you get a cup of tea, that means you really enjoy a good breakfast. If you get a cup of water in the morning, you really had a good breakfast. And then you just wait for whatever happened later on at the day, whether you get lunch or dinner would be just your chance. But here, everything is handy. If you are driving on the highway, you just see the sign of McDonald's there. You can go to the area and drive through the window, and here's the food, voila. We don't have those kind of opportunity over there. Here, let's talk about the kids. The right the kids have over there in my country is not like what you guys have. I would say you have enough. And sometimes I said, why you been complaining sometime while you have enough? Some of the kids over there, going to school alone, if you get opportunity to go to school, you have to walk miles and miles to get there. If you need something like water, you have to walk miles and miles to get there, to get the water that you need. If you have headache, here's Tylenol, Advil, you take it and then the headache is gone. You can change your clothes anytime that you need, but over there, those kids, they don't have that bit, but they are still happy with what they have. They don't even have enough toys. They don't have access to all that kind of thing, but they are happy whatever your parents provide you on the table, that meal, no question. You just eat it and then you move on with life. And I can go on and on and on because there's so much different between my country and this country. Thank you.
When the kind of convenience that both Salva and I are talking about, when you don't have to spend hours every day on survival, eating, water, things like that, it means you have time for all the other stuff, whether that's recreation or education, right? So countries where your basic needs are taken care of for most of the population, that's where innovation and invention and progress can take place. You can't have progress in a place where people have to spend almost all their time on survival.
Okay, and the next question is for Salva. You came to the U.S. from refugee camps in Kenya and Ethiopia, and it's hard for a lot of us to imagine what life is like in a refugee camp. What was the most difficult thing about living in one of those?
Thank you. First of all, is to tell you that life in refugee camp is horrible. It's like sitting in the jail. I'm sure maybe in this room there are people that who live in those refugee camps before. And they knew exactly how painful it is, because being in refugee camp is just sit there with no freedom. You don't know when will you go back to your country. You cannot travel wherever you want to go to, because you are in that certain area that you are confined in it. You cannot practice your skill survival. Like if you want to set up your business or other thing that you need to pursue for your dreams, you don't have that access to do it because you have limited resource, you have limited territory. And also too, there's no adequate hygiene, feeding. All those kind of things are not there, and it's always a challenge. It's just like you've been confined somewhere that you will never get out in that. And life in refugee camp is not something that easy. We should always support it. But at least somehow you get feeding and maybe you are safe. No one will attack you there. That's the good thing about it. But it's not good to stay in refugee camp for a long, many years. Like I myself, I stayed in refugee camp for 10 years. And when I came to this country, I have to start life all over. My brain was like almost a child brain at that time because I could not catch up with high school kids here in this country because I didn't have access to be able to go to school and have and finish my school there. I could look grown up, but my brain is very shallow and I cannot take care of myself. And thank God there are great people that do help us here to be able to be someone. And life in refugee camp is not good. And that's the only thing I would say on that part. Thank you.
Linda Sue, this one's about A Long Walk to Water. Is Naya real?
Okay. All right. So for those of you who have read the book, which I hope is most of you, or at least you've started it, it's a dual narrative with some chapters from a boy's point of view, a boy named Salva, and the other chapters from a girl's point of view. And the girl's name, the correct pronunciation is actually Nia. All right, so Salva is sitting right here. He's a real person. You could shake his hand. Nia is what's called a composite. Between interviewing Salva and my husband's visits to South Sudan, my husband's been there. He's a reporter, so he interviewed people, he took video footage, he took photographs, and he came home and told me all about it. And I borrowed his notes and I borrowed his brain, and I took something from one girl that he met, and something from another girl, and something from another girl, and I squashed them all into Nia. So she's not real in the same way that Salva is, but her story is still true, okay? It's true of many girls and young women who live in South Sudan today.
Salva, what is your plan for this year in the organization?
The plan I have for this year on organization, I will, there are a lot of plans. Water for South Sudan is not just to provide water, and that's it. When we were drilling well there, a lot of things happened around the world that we were not even expecting those things would happen. And now we have those wells in the schools, and the school is getting built. But when you have a school like now we are in this room, definitely we need bathroom, we need to wash our hand and all this kind of thing to make sure we are healthy. And Water for South Sudan now is doing hygiene and sanitation, making sure there's latrine and toilet there in those classrooms, because if you need to go to bathroom, you don't have to walk distant and leave the teacher, the classroom people have been teaching, teacher is teaching the class there while you are away far. No, and now we add this thing in to make sure that if you want to go to the bathroom, then you would have access to go to the bathroom. And also Water for South Sudan is creating employment. The people that who work around that, they're getting money, and now they have their kids to go to school. And Water for South Sudan is a seed that we really need to put down there to be able to lift people up from their poverty. And we are working hard to make sure we are accomplishing all the things that we need to do to be able to help these people. Thank you.
Salva, what do you hope that these students and all people learn from your story?
I would say two things for the people that were at the long walk to water. One is perseverance. Make sure life is not that easy. All of us, we know that. Life is difficult, it's not fair. But if you are not patient with it and persevere and do the best you could, you will not get anywhere. The other one is giving up. If you give up with anything that you try to do, that means you're hurting this world, actually. Like I myself, if I did give up last time coming to U.S. and say, oh, thank God, bring me to U.S., I'm comfortable, I'm not going back to this horrible country again, that means the children or the people that we've been helping today in South Sudan, maybe they wouldn't get this help they have today. And I was determined to go back and not giving up, to be able to help with what they need help with. And to do the work there is not that easy completely. It's very difficult in the country that has no infrastructure completely. Just getting a diesel, a gasoline to drive or to drill, you have to get it out from another country. Your food and all the supplies that you need to get them out from another country and drive in the area that has no paved road, bumpy road, for days. It's not just saying that tomorrow I will, within an hour I will get to New York City or something like that. No, it's not like that. You have to be patient and go slowly until you get there. And what I just want to promise you, never give up on anything completely. Try your best, because if you try, you might see the other door is open behind you and you can go through it. But if you give up, you will never reach anywhere. And have patience all the time and have hope. Things will get better. It will get tough today, tomorrow will get better. Thank you.
Linda Sue, when you write a book for students, do you have a vision of what you want them to gain from reading the story?
Yes, I have written many books for young people, and in my novels, I always explore the same question, because it's the question to me, which is that life is not fair. Period. It's not fair. So what do we do about that? Some people, maybe even people your own age, which makes it really sad, but many adults, they react with bitterness and anger, and they're angry at the world. The world is just not fair. What I'm trying to explore in all my books is, what can we do to change that? What can each of us do in our lives to change that? Okay? I have a good friend, the author Jacqueline Woodson, and she says, I am trying to change the world one reader at a time. Okay? It's a hard job. Right? I hope that readers find hope in my books, perseverance. I hope they start to think about, how can I make my little corner of the world a more fair place? How can I show kindness and fairness and justice to the people around me? But this book, A Long Walk to Water, has been really, really special. And one of the things about it that has meant so much to me personally, those of you who know the book, you know it has this orange and black cover. It was on the screen a few minutes ago. It's quite striking graphically. You can see it from far away. You can see those two colors. And the book is in my house, and I put copies of it in the little corners of the house, which means that as I go through my day, I catch sight of it. Okay, even subconsciously, I don't stare at it, but I catch sight of this orange and black. I have bad days. We all have bad days. I have bad days like everybody else. And sometimes I get really pissed off, and I start to feel sorry for myself. And walking around the house, I see that orange and black cover, and then I'm like, get hold of yourself. My bad day is nothing compared to what a bad day was for Salva during the period of the war, right? Doesn't even come close. Okay, if he can deal, I can deal. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get one little thing done, one small task to make someone else feel better. Okay? Almost every bad day that I have, he helps me. Even though he's in South Sudan now, a million miles away. One school wrote to me something I just love. They have a new saying in their classroom. When people get discouraged or are feeling down or are having problems, they say to each other, WWSD, WWSD. What does that mean? It's kind of a mouthful. But that means, what would Salva do? What would Salva do? I just love that. I'm going to be using that from now on.
Linda Sue, do you have any future books in the works right now?
I do. I love my job. I get to sit around and make up stories all day long. I currently have a fantasy trilogy, 3 books. Books 1 and 2 have already been published. It's called the Wing and Claw series. Book 1 was Forest of Wonders. Book 2, Cavern of Secrets. Book 3, Beast of Stone, will be out in March. I have a couple of picture books coming out, and I have what's called a YA novel, a novel for teen readers that will be out in May. So I have a lot going on, and I'm really very excited to be able to do the work that I do.
Salva, this question has 3 parts. First is, what is the future for South Sudan? Second is, how can people help? And the third is, do you have a long-range vision for water for South Sudan?
I start with the future of South Sudan. There's a brighter future for South Sudan, and no question about it. Imagine if you have a child that is troublemaking in a 1 year, 2 years. Do you give up on that child? No, because you know this child will grow up and will change and will take care of herself or himself and will be a good person. This is how we are now with South Sudan. South Sudan is the youngest baby child in the world in all these countries. And South Sudan came out from the war. For 20 years, they had war for 20 years, and the only thing they knew was fighting. And when you fight, and then now you have a country, and that's the only way that you know to fight to get whatever you want. That's why our country is now having all this problem. Because many people, they knew to fight, this is where you can get your position, being a president, minister, director, and all those kind of things. But not to forget, what Water for South Sudan is planting the seed that will change that country. If we put the well there, school is built, kids get opportunity to go to school, that means that generation, they are going to be educated. And when they get education, they will change that. They will come up with a good system that will help that country. That means we have a good future there. With how we can help the country, you guys right now from this room, wherever you are in these countries that who always work hard to do fundraising and donate money to Water for South Sudan for the well to drill, that's what it is. You are helping this country to be someone someday. That means you are doing a good job, and keep doing that. Last, what the future of Water for South Sudan will be, correct? And yes, the future of Water for South Sudan is still great, because what we are doing, we're still watering that seed to make sure that seed grow. Like before I just mentioned about hygiene and sanitation. Being healthy, that's the seed that is being, you are watering that seed to grow healthy. That's what we are doing. And we're still doing the best we could to do fundraising and drill more well for the villages that left out. Even the village that we drilled the well, they still need more wells because sometimes the distance is still there and the well is not enough for them. And we don't know how many wells we still need because the demand is still high there, and we're still doing our best to do whatever we can. That means there's a great future for Water for South Sudan and for South Sudanese themselves, and for this world that is become one village today. Look at us today, where we are now. We have all this connection from South America, from Australia, from Canada, from all over the states here. Look at this. The entire world become one village, and we're all concerned about ourselves now. That means if something happened in another part of the world, we are there all together, and that's how we are now. And no one can be alone in this world to take care of herself or himself. We all need to be together. This is where we can accomplish the best to ourselves, and we can be a healthy world. Thank you.
Salva, can you tell us a little bit about your family, your farm, and your future personal plans?
Well, good question. I do Water for South Sudan, and I have a side work that I do. You know, there's a lot of starvation that you always get in Africa when you see TV or hear all the news. And that thing bothers me all the time. How can Africans really do something to themselves to alleviate themselves from that poverty of just getting feeding? And I went in there, I do a little farming on my side. Even now I'm selling them to the World Food Program, the sorghum that I'm doing in my farm. And I run that farm with onions, cabbage, and all those kind of things. And my family live in Uganda and actually moved back. I'm not staying in America anymore. I just come here like 1 week, 2 weeks, and then go back. I moved there for good, and I'm raising my family there, and that's where I stay, and just come here. But I'm so blessed too to have 2 countries and have 2 places that I could come to. When I come here, I feel good. I'm with my other family, as you read it in the Long Walk to Water. And when I go there, I have another family that make me, I'm an international person, and wherever I go, is our home. And that's what we all need, to make sure wherever we go in this world, we feel at home. We don't feel as strangers. And we need that. Thank you.
So we're going to move into the questions that were pre-submitted to us from all around the country. First question, from Salisbury Middle School in Allentown, Pennsylvania. What have you both learned from yourselves and about each other by telling and writing Salva's story?
I have just been so amazed by all of you guys and you out there because of your response to the story. I wrote the book because I'm like, whoa, Salva is awesome. I want to write a story about him. And what you all did is, when you read the book, you're reading a better book than the one I wrote, because you're reading yourselves into it. You're interacting with the book. Teacher after teacher has told me, my students finish the book and they say, how can we help? What can we do to help? Okay, so students all over the world have raised money for Salva's organization, as you heard him say. Those students just like you, are literally saving lives. There are people who will not die in South Sudan because they now have clean water. People who save lives are known as superheroes. The students and teachers and schools who have raised money for Water for South Sudan are superheroes, literally. Now that makes me a superhero sidekick, okay? They're always the funny ones in the movie, right? And that's what's happened. As a result of a long walk to water, I am a superhero sidekick. I love it. And I really feel that. I really feel that people, that young people especially, they've learned that they can change the world. That's what the book and Salva's story have taught them. That's an amazing thing to learn, to be empowered like that. Yes, I can help save a life somewhere else. Amazing.
Thank you. What I just learned from that is the connection we really have as human beings. That's what touched me first. Without that, we could not be able to do what I'm doing today. And I will not take a credit and say, okay, I'm Salva, I'm doing this. No, I will not. Even though you give me a credit, I will not take it. It's this collective hand, ideas together, that's what make it happen. And when I met with Linda Sue, we met and she invited me to her house, the first time to meet her. And she put on the white elephant party. And then I went there and we met. And just to meet her, and she got excited with my story, and then take that with that energy, with that brilliant ideas to making sure that, yes, this thing could help people. Many people, like now, we are helping hundreds of people in South Sudan because of just that book that she wrote and all this kind of thing. And it touched me so much. And I wish our world would be like that, to really get connected, understand one another, and then work hand to hand for our good living instead of fighting. Because fighting will never take us anywhere completely. But if we just look at the positive thing to take care of ourselves in this world, this fight will be way far away. And I always think, how can we do more as the people in the world to make sure that we're doing something better, to really get rid of all this conflict all over the world all the time? Because the conflict hurt the innocent people, and those who are causing conflict don't get any problem. Like, I'm sure in this room there are a lot of refugees who came from all over the world. And we were so innocent. There were innocent kids, some were even born in the camps, and now they didn't even know what was really going on in their country, why they are in their refugees, what caused all those kind of things. Look at that thing. It just kind of like put innocent people in something that you don't imagine. And those elite group who are fighting, causing those, they are enjoying the best life. And I wish we should come up with a way that has the world to take care of those issues and accept each other. We are already smart. If we have a problem, we just put them on the table. We will find the solution and accept each other. We will find the solution no matter what we do. But some people turn their back to other problem and try causing problem. And we wish all of us, this world, will do a better to ourselves, to be a good human being and enjoy our life together. Thanks.
The next question is from Belgrano Day School in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Salva, in your worst moments, what gave you the strength to maintain your determination and perseverance?
Good question. Sometime, when you read that book, you know, most of the things I didn't plan them completely. They just happen. I find myself in a horrible situation, and then I have to cope with it. And then settle down, like thinking that things are good in my life, and then another thing come across. Cope with it, and deal with it. Move on, another thing happen, all those. And the first time when I was getting out from South Sudan, from that fighting that broke out in my village, was very horrifying completely. And then losing my uncle on the way, Marial and all those kind of things, sitting in refugee camp. It just, what was running in my head always, I want to go back home and be with my family. That's what I need. Imagine being young and you don't know much, you are depending on your parents. That's where you need to be actually, because you don't know other world outside there. And that thing was hurting me so much. Those are the moment that I couldn't imagine. And with this uncle that I have, depending on him, it's not there anymore. Then what happened, ending up in refugee camp, the boys were isolated by themselves, were put in the orphanage camp, and now we find ourselves, we are just young by ourselves, no role model. We turn to one another to take care of each other. And I think that moment, I felt completely I have no other way to do. It just have perseverance, have hope, and do the best I could, and be determined no matter what happened in my life, stay strong and do the best you could all the time, because never know, things might change along the way. And through these difficulties that I went through, maybe that's where I got that thing from. Thank you.
From Folks Ranch Elementary School in Elk Grove, California, Salva. Who do you look up to as a role model or a hero?
Who do I look into as a role model and hero? I will start with Linda Sue Park. She's a role model and hero too. And I had also great people. Let's say my family here that helped me, Moore's family that helped me to be someone. And especially this MCC too. At MCC, the story that went to this book started right here from MCC, because I started the ESL classes here. And in my ESL class, I was asked to write the story. And then I wrote about my life. And when Linda Sue and I met, after she got the article in the newspaper, she said, "Do you have anything that written somewhere?" I said, "Yes, I have that." And then I brought it to her, and then she, with the interview I had, and that's become A Long Walk to Water today, that book. And I have a lot of role model heroes in my life too as well. In camp, there are people that helped me, especially United Nations, that do help to make sure those who are suffering in the world could not suffer like that. They should be helped in order to get somewhere. If the UN didn't have their refugee camp there, maybe I wouldn't be here today. It's because of that, and that's UN is my hero too as well. And I can go on and on and on to the people that do help me in my life, to the people that do help me to set up this organization. I can go on and on and on, and thanks.
Salva, you know what strikes me about your answer is that Salva's heroes are all ordinary people.
Yes,
His
like
heroes
you.
are not movie stars or professional athletes or famous politicians. His heroes are ordinary people. That could be an interesting goal. Grow up to be somebody's hero.
And all these people who supported Water for South Sudan students are heroes, and you guys are heroes, are my heroes too. Thank you.
The next question is from Attica Middle School in Attica, New York. Salva, what inspired you to leave behind everything in the U.S. to return home when you had lost everything?
What inspired me is this. I came out from extreme trouble, poverty, and everything. And when I came here, I did not give up and say that, no, I'm not going back to help these people. It's the suffering that I knew they were suffering. And especially when I went back to meet my father that I didn't see for many, many, many years. Just to see him suffering because of just clean water. He was drinking bad water. That moment turned my life really, that I need to help him out and help other people who have no access to clean water. Over there in the third world country in Africa, many children under 5 years, they die because of bad water. And now, drilling clean water there, providing clean water there, these kids have opportunity not to get sick again. And that is what really inspired me to go back, is because of my father and because of the people that were suffering. And I know I'm one person with the people that behind me supporting me. I can make difference. I knew I can make difference. Like, of course, we are making difference now today. And that's why we have a school and people are getting healthy there. Thank you.
I mean, it's mind-blowing, right? Salva is a refugee living in a refugee camp. They are the poorest people in the world, right? There's nobody poorer than people in refugee camps. He comes to the United States and he eventually says, well, I think I'm going to bring water to a whole country. Gonk. It's like, really? And then he does it, right? I mean, if he can do that, whatever your goals are, you can do it.
From Galloway Ridge Intermediate School in Galloway, Ohio, Linda Sue. Did you ever think that sharing Salva's story would have such a huge impact on the students all around the world?
No, that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier about just finding out the capacity that you all have, young people have, for wanting to help, for wanting to see more fairness and justice in the world. You know, I think that, that in many cultures, they're like, okay, they're just young people, they're just kids, you know. The goal is for them to grow up to be great people. And what this book has taught me is, no, they can be great people right now. You can be great people right now. And you have been, so many of you, over and over. You know, so the quest for fairness and justice in the world, you know, don't think that, you know, I'll start that after college, or I'll start that when I'm 30. Okay? You know, see if you can do a little bit every day in your lives right now. And the response to Long Walk to Water has shown me that so many of you have that superhero capability inside you right now.
From Woods Charter School in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Salva, how can we as middle school students be most effective in trying to bring awareness to our own communities about the plight of people around the world living without water and living as refugees?
You are effective right now. It's just a matter to take the word out. It's the word of mouth. Tell your parents, tell your uncles, tell your aunts, tell your friends. Word of mouth can get there and can be way, way, way farther. And that's the only way you can be effective. But never ignore things. Anything that happens around you, it doesn't matter what. It's not just to help Water for South Sudan alone. You can even help in your community. You can help in other areas that because they need. It's everywhere. And if you ignore the thing that is going around you, that's where the problem really happens. But if you really take action and talk about it, take it to a different level, that would make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody can give money. Okay, fair enough, right? Educate yourselves. If you've read A Long Walk to Water, that's educating yourselves. Educate yourself, share what you've learned, right? Talk to people. Talk to people about Salva and the book. You never know what's going to happen. They're like ripples. They're like throwing a pebble in a pond in ripples. Water for South Sudan has gotten tons of letters that say, I heard about this book from my friend's grandson. Okay, I heard about Salva from, and it's like 6 people, a chain of 6 people, and the first one in the chain was a young student who had read the book and talked about it, and that the word passed along and along, and it finally hit somebody who could give $1,000, right? So not everybody can give money, but you can spread the word and share the news, and without that, there's never any money, right? So that's another way that you can do your part, even if you can't give money yourself.
From William J. Johnson Middle School in Colchester, Connecticut. Salva, do you keep in touch with any of the Lost Boys?
Yes, I do. We have some of the Lost Boys here in Rochester. And also, too, some of the Lost Boys went back with me, and they are the managers now in Water for South Sudan. And we always see each other. We have some of the Lost Boys, too, didn't make it to U.S. and they stay behind in refugee camp and they get some education there. They went back, and with those schools that are being built there, they are the ones teaching. They become the teachers. And all the time, I come across the Lost Boys, and I have those who are still close to me today, and I'm always in touch with them all the time.
I've actually been lucky enough to see Salva a few times when he gets together with the Lost Boys, especially other Dinka who speak his language. Okay, I don't know, I can't understand a single word except Chibok, which means like hello, right? So he gets together with these guys, and they're always laughing. They talk, and then they crack up. It's just like they're always having a good time. I'd love to know what they're saying. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I wouldn't like to know what they're saying. But it seems like they're always enjoying each other when they get together.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniela Ensalaco, and I am Vice President of the Holocaust, Genocide, and Human Rights Project here at Monroe Community College. We would like to thank all of you for attending our conversation with Salva Dutt and Linda Sue Park here today. A very special thank you from the bottom of our hearts to Linda Sue and Salva for taking the time to answer all these wonderful questions you guys sent in. I would like to remind all of you that our 10th annual Walk for Water is this Sunday, the 15th, at 10 a.m. in Building 10, located right near our gymnasium. The course will cover our entire campus with stops along the way for games and interesting facts about South Sudan. We hope to see you all there. As another note, Water for South Sudan invites all schools to take the Iron Giraffe Challenge 2018. The IGC calls on schools to each raise a minimum of $1,000 with a goal to raise $150,000 total before next April. All participating schools will be recognized on the WFSS website, and all who complete the challenge will receive a WFSS poster and be entered in a drawing to win a visit from Salva. Additional prizes will also be awarded, including Skype calls with Salva or Linda Sue Park, author of A Long Walk to Water. This year, we will also have a drawing for Skype calls with leaders of the WFSS drilling and rehab teams, Ater Lion Thiep and Ajan AJ Agok. Will you take the challenge with us? Thank you again so much for coming today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
We are now going to have an opportunity for each school to have a picture with Linda Sue and Salva Dutt. So we're going to call schools up one at a time. So the first school we're going to call up is Grand Island Veronica Connor School. Come on up to the stage.
Are we going to stand with them or sit? No, I don't think so. Good, yeah.